Stay in.
Okay. So, doing my retail assessment. I'm doing my assessment on NCAA football 2014, and I know as far as sports games go, a lot of people wonder what exactly designers would actually do because it's not as, I guess you could say, design heavy as other games. But I'm gonna just walk you through some of the more design heavy aspects of the game.
Cool.
So some of these design aspects include teams, in-game play, and dynasty. I picked those three individually just because they are the most areas where you expect that designers actually go in. And after going through, I think a lot of you would be surprised about how much design actually goes into these areas. So teams is one of the biggest games. It can make and break the college game. Unlike some like professional sports games, the teams don't drastically change as much. But in college, they change. They can change drastically every single year. So the designers, they have designers that set up. They're in charge of specific teams and conferences, and they have to like research them to see, how good are they going to be this year? Like what new players are coming in? How good were they last year? And like their overall history to come up with like a rating for them for this year's game. Some example of changes that they would do would be uniform, additions to the stadium or field, conferences, the players, coaches, and the play style, which all dramatically affects how they build the team. Conferences, this is more of over the past couple of years has been a recent change because teams have always switched conferences, but over the past couple of years it's been more drastic. So a lot of the designs have to make sure that everyone's in the right conference. Those conferences have the right bowl bids because over the recent years that has changed quite a lot. But now it's sort of coming down, so we won't focus on that in the future. But even though they're not making it again, which is kind of sad.
What do you mean by?
They're not making. They discontinued the NCAA series.
Oh.
Because of the license and like all the license problems. So.
When you were talking about players, who handles scouting? Is that external to the designers, or?
I think they have a separate team. I think I might be external to the studio. I couldn't really find any like solid information, but I'm guessing there's some team that goes and scouts.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So.
Okay.
Stadiums and like college tradition. Past couple of years, they've really been focusing on like school traditions, like pregame stuff. Like you'll see, as a picture in Colorado, they run out with the buffalo on the field every game. Clemson, they run down the hill and touch the rock. In Notre Dame, the Irishman comes out and does all that crazy stuff. So they've really pushed that. And then the stadiums, they need to make sure the stadiums are up to date. So they go research the stadium, see if any teams have expanded their stadium, made any changes, especially with on-field logos, because they want to make sure that every field is the exact replica of the actual college stadium. Like, make sure that, there's one example, they got a complaint Georgia Tech's field wasn't right, and it was because they had the ACC logo on the 15-yard line in the game. It was actually on the 25-yard line in real life. So they had to go in, change that.
Oh.
And so they made, and those are some of the changes they make, like, and then they'll like make certain different designs, and that they'll put that in the game.
Is that my old school, Tennessee?
Yep, that's Tennessee. Yep, good old Neyland Stadium.
How many Division I-A schools are there?
There are 126 in the game. They only include Division I. They have a couple FCS teams, but they're just standard generic, like they'll name them FCS Southeast, Southwest. So, but there has been a push to add FCS teams such as like Appalachian State, which is, I guess technically it's Division I now, but they haven't had that in the game. So I'm guessing if this game would have continued, they would have added those, at least the top tier, Division II, maybe Division III in the league, or I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure. They could have made separate games for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then another one is probably one of the biggest ones, uniforms, players, coaches, and the play style. A lot of teams come up with like different uniforms, like Oregon, they'll come up with like a different one every single game. So like they have to be like on top of, okay, are the uniforms accurate for this year's team? And then the way they do it is they'll design them and they'll have it as a DLC later. So it's not like all packed into one. They have time to like make them and then we'll just release them as they go, just so I guess they get more stuff in the actual game.
Do they charge for that?
They charged it's like $1 per pack, and you get like 7 or 6 different team uniforms for that. So and then at the beginning they release one pack that's for free that everyone can get. So
does Oregon really change their uniform that often?
Oh yes, they do. They have quite a few new ones. Also, Maryland's a big one. They have like over 20 different uniforms that Maryland wears. So they have to like really keep up with like the accuracy of what it is. But they by no means include all 26 like different combinations in the game. Well, not all of them, but you can make different combinations in the game. Players, another big thing that to make sure that the players are accurate, even though they can't do it exactly accurate, they still have to like come up with similar, like you'll see big time players like Johnny Manziel for Texas A&M. He'll have his number 2. They'll have all the numbers are usually the same for the players. They just can't include names, like specific information like where they're from, and they can't be. They try and make it as accurate as possible, but it's only mainly for the big players like Johnny Manziel or Denard Robinson from Michigan, and so yeah.
Why don't they do it for everybody? Is it just too big a task?
It's kind of too big of a task, and because of the licensing problems they've been having, they can't make them exactly accurate. They can't make them the exact replica like they can in Madden. So and like I've experienced this in the past. Like I've actually like for North Carolina, I try to like find out who's who and like actually put the names in.
Yeah.
And there's like a complete difference. It's like some of the numbers are different. I find the starters are exactly the same. I can pick out who's who in the starters, but the further you go down the depth chart, you can't determine it because like they're pretty much no names. So like okay, we'll just come up with a random sort of thing for the lower players. So it's kind of biased the way they do it, but I mean at the same time it's really all they can do because of the whole license thing.
Okay.
Then coaches and play style, those go hand in hand. With each year, new teams get different coaches. So they need to make sure that coach, because coaches will bring in new play styles for teams, so they need to make sure that the play styles line up, which affects how the whole team plays the game. They come up, like this year, they have there's like different play types that they've really focused. It was mainly last year's game where they really focused on play types. Like they have a new spread offense, more like air it out type, or the run game spread. They have options. They have like running guns and all those different like formations, and those really like influence. Like Oregon's known for that spread offense that's really running gun, a lot of play action. So that's how they'll actually play in the game. So they need to like make sure like they actually play like the team that does in the actual game, unless you go in and change it. You have the ability to change it up if you don't like that certain play style. So
if you simulate games and you're watching them, would it feel roughly like watching a game on TV?
Yes, it would. I'll actually get to that a little bit later. I'll show you the beginning part of a game that they've added, and it does actually really feel realistic. Like all the timing and the setup is like actually pretty real. But you'll see that a little bit later.
Do you find what would happen if say a team that's traditionally very run heavy, like maybe I don't know, Oklahoma, they run a fair bit, right?
Yeah.
So what if they came out and just started surprising people and just like pure passing? What would happen to the game? Well, not that it's being made anymore, but in that instance. Do they patch it, or do they?
I mean, the AI is it can be like difficult to like. It'll sometimes do that. Like I haven't really found much problems with it. Like whenever I versus Georgia Tech, they're heavy, like that triple option thing. That they're always doing the triple option. They never really vary. So I think they actually do quite a bit of making sure that the computer acts the way that team is supposed to play.
Okay.
I really haven't run into that problem playing it where like a team will completely go away from the play style.
Yeah.
Unless they got a new coach. I've seen where Georgia Tech got a new coach and then they went completely opposite and they did an aired out package where all they would do is pass.
Huh.
So but that comes with a coach change. So I kind of like that. I was like, okay, well, it's because they're not the same coach, they're not going to play the same style.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, you don't really know in that problem where they like run away from their certain play style. They're really good at like saying, okay, Oregon's they're going to do the spread offense. They're going to run that. They're not going to like drastically change on you real quick, unless like some teams will pass. Like if like they're down a lot, you'll see them start passing or start going for it more because that's what actual teams would do in the game.
Okay.
So. So yeah, here's some examples. Like Carolina got these are the new 2013 uniforms. They had that in a patch. They added that in like uniform pack. And you'll see like the new players in the roster, and then coaching style with the playbook down there. You can change like different playbooks.
Is that an actual photo from a player, or is this the randomly generated model?
Oh, this one's the brand. I think it's. I just got a screenshot. I think. They have names, so I'm guessing it's just a randomly one.
Okay.
It's probably from some like guy who was playing it, and then that's his player that was in the game. But yeah, in gameplay, this is probably the biggest design heavy that people don't really see. You gotta really like dig into it to really get into the design heavy. And a lot of the aspects include player controls, physics, which would seem more of like on a programming kind of side. But the designers really come up with AI. They have a lot of past former football players that work for them, so they can because they actually know the game, they played it, so they can make it the most realistic as possible. But yeah, they'll have designers that come up with how they should react. Designers are in there with like the mocap suits, making sure everything's done right, and then they'll like relay it on. I guess there'll also be engineers there that. Like, okay, this is what you need to do. They'll sort of tell them that this is what you need to program to make them do this. But the designers are sort of like the focus of overseeing that.
How many, like, of the designers, like, I don't know if you would be able to guess a percentage, but, like, what chunk of the team would be, like, ex-football players or scouts or whatever versus guys like normal guys. People, yeah?
I know there's quite a few, like, just... in like regular guys, but I'd say from what I've seen on like some of the videos that like I've watched like the making of, I'd say a good 40% maybe.
Oh wow!
Are actually past players.
Okay. Especially
a lot of like the QA testers that people get to like test the game. They have like a lot of players, former players that help out with that. So
that's cool.
So yeah, and then also the realistic game sound feel and commentary, which goes into the sound feel. So so it's really about creating that realistic game day feel. They have to like make sure that it comes across as, oh, this feels like an actual college football game. The fans are there; they're all riled up. The team's doing their special traditions. They're doing the coin toss at the beginning of every game and stuff. And then like you'll see certain like traditions that school does. So here I got a couple videos.
Since they're not making any more NCAAs, are they gonna like patch the most recent one at all?
I haven't heard anything. I hope so because I still want the game to continue. I like playing it, but as of right now, I guess it's completely kaput. So we'll see. I don't know. They might bring it back eventually. Hopefully.
Can people upload their own patches? Like if they name everybody like on North Carolina, like you said, like could you upload that so other people?
Yes, there's a team builder function in the game outside the game. It's a website that you go on, you log in with like EA, like your EA account, and you can make teams and you can change like their uniforms, make really different uniforms. Like you control every single aspect of that team, or not that team. It's pretty much from scratch, and then you can make the complete roster on your own. And a lot of teams do that though. I haven't checked recently, but there's probably a couple teams out there that some people have just like, okay, I don't like the team in the game, so I'm just going to change it. And then you can just if you have that EA account, you can go in your team builder, you just go in the game, you go team builder, search by author or by team, and you just pick it, and you get 12 slots to download 12 different teams, and then you can upload it from there and you can use it in the game.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's more of like a consumer thing. Like the players will actually use it. It's not the actual team that makes the game does the patches.
Yeah.
It's usually just regular people, just like, oh, I just want to do this.
Okay. So theoretically, fans could kind of keep the game alive.
Yes,
At least
they could.
in that sense.
Now here's an example at the beginning of the game. It's slightly different. This is 2014. Has been some changes to it, which some of it I'm happy, some of it I'm not entirely happy, but here's a little peek at it, but I'll talk about it after it's over.
Oh, if you want mine. Oh, you have it plugged in?
Yeah, I got
okay.
plugged in.
In the stadium. It doesn't get any bigger than Michigan, Ohio State as far as rivalries go. Let's head down to the coin toss now. It's brought to you by Coke Zero. Real Coca-Cola taste and 0 calories. Enjoy everything.
So yeah, that's basically the beginning. There's a lot missing. Before that video in the beginning. I couldn't find the whole entire video. It wouldn't show like the beginning part because before the video, you see players like stretching and commentators are kind of just talking, they added that beginning video this year, and they sort of replaced that school tradition, which was one of my problems.
Yeah.
But that was more. That's more getting into like a review. But
what do the commentators talk about?
Commentators talk about they're like usually they'll talk about like some like one of the superstars of the game. They'll come out like, oh, watch out for this guy, blah, 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 and you'll see him like just sort of like warming up and warm-up activities. It'll vary from week to week because if some dude has like a big like game last week, they'll talk about him at the beginning and then stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's another glimpse at it, but and then let's see a couple. Another one. Actually, nope. I'll get into that later. Actually, wait, no, this one. And then another of the gameplay experience. I know, like, they've incorporated this new gameplay engine in NCAA, where it sort of gives that more realistic feel. The running backs have sharper cuts. They have more juke combos, and the engine it's the engine they used for Madden, but it's the updated version of it. Just like it's called Infinity. They use Infinity for Madden, and then the Infinity 2 came out, and that's what they used for NCAA. And it's an amazing engine, and they have all these like different things that they use. But here's a video that really explains like what exactly like goes in like. Designs go into it.
Knowing that foot placement, knowing the right time to cut, knowing when to do it is key to your success as a running back and as a runner. Once you get an angle, you feel that the defender is,
You want to slightly give a little head fake, shoulder fake, whatever you can, and play with that foot cut against the body. You know, you can throw a guy off real easily. As soon as you see the guy stop, he's at a disadvantage. Because in your mind, you know what you're doing. Now he's reacting to you. And his reaction time is not going to be fast enough to keep up with your speed going forward. Once you see that hole, hit it 100%. Know how to cut, when to cut. That's absolutely huge. Because without that, you can't be a successful running back at any level, high school, college, professional. You just can't do it.
One of the newest weapons you have in your arsenal this year is the acceleration burst. When you get the ball, you're going to look for a hole or a cutback lane and quickly accelerate through the hole as you would in real life. We're giving you the ability to perform cuts while running. This will allow you to run more accurate 90 and 45 cuts as you run up the field as a real running back would. We're adding a bunch of new juice to the game. You can use left, right, you can combo them, or even back juice to fake out your opponent on the field.
Another exciting addition to NCAA Football 14 is real-time physics. This provides us with unpredictable outcomes and limitless variety.
The user to be able to do user-like things as if they are that player. Be able to replicate what that player would do in real life. Everyone's gonna love that. It's pretty much natural. It's kind of like real life.
So yeah, as you can see, it plays a huge part of a lot of the game designers work with actual football players to come up with that enhanced running game. Because before, they would have the players would actually you sort of turn on that slow kind of arc,
like a unicycle,
like a unicycle almost. But now you can drastically just flicking the left analog stick in a completely opposite direction, completely do like a 90-degree angle cut or a 45-degree angle cut. So it makes it more like that, more realistic feel rather than, I'm just sort of just running and it doesn't feel realistic. It's not as sharp as this new engine is.
So the designers really have to understand the way the physics work and then the way the animations and mocap work.
Yes, they do a lot of work with mocap and different players. And then another one is actually the passing. For player controls, they do different animations. They have one long animation that can be interrupted. That when you interrupt it, does a certain thing. For passing, you have the icon of the player to say you press A. If you tap it, it's going to stop the animation right here, which is going to force you to lob the pass. But the more you hold through the animation, the longer you press the button, the more, if you hold it all the way through, it's going to do more of a hard bullet pass. And it's going to re-affect the actual throw. And if you throw it midway, then you're going to throw it a lot longer than you would actually throw it if you just try to do a hard pass or just lob it.
So if you want to throw over a defender's head.
Yeah, if you want to throw over a defender's head, it's all about how long you actually press the button in the game. Let's see, and then AI, the designers have to come up with realistic how the CPU would actually play in the game, such as the defense. They did a lot of work with the defense, making them a challenge for the player, because before there's plays where you could just do over and over and over again, and it always worked. So everyone's just okay, well, I'm just going to do this play over and over again. So by making the defense actually act like they would in real life, they made the defense harder. They did a lot of work with zones to make sure that the CPU knew how to react in different zones that they had. Let me think of an example. In cover 3, there's usually a couple holes on the side, but with the new AI, if there's usually one in the flat, but if there's no running, no receiver in the flat, that guy will actually drop back a little bit more to fill that hole to where it actually be instead of just going that one spot. So it's actually creating an AI awareness that they'd actually play a defense would in the actual game. So designers have to work a lot with. Again, a lot of past football players come in and help design that, and to say, okay, this guy's going to do this in this situation, and they sort of help guide whoever, I guess, the engineer that's working on the AI for that specific part of the game.
So when you're talking about like a zone defense, like where people stand in positions
Mm-hmm.
and they wait for offensive players to come into their area. If there's no player, like that's confusing for real players. Like they make mistakes.
Yes.
How would that? So like a designer, I guess they would first assign, like a programmer would build a system, and the designer would say, okay, there's like a 60% chance they'll stay here, or like is that?
It's it also has to do with player ratings. When they go through player ratings, awareness plays a big part in that. If you have a higher awareness, then you're going to be aware of what's going on at all times, rather than a person with lower awareness. They're going to like lose where the ball is. They're not going to know where they are on the field and stuff like that. So, because I've actually, like, you could see it if you have a guy, if you put his awareness all the way down, and let's say
How low
he's,
can it get?
you can go all the way to 0,
Oh.
and you go all the way up to 99. But it's all about, like, you can change it on your own if you want. But one of the main, like, if he's a cornerback and he has low awareness, and he turns his back to the quarterback, and the quarterback throws it, and he doesn't turn around to go see it, he's not going to know where the ball is. He's just going to keep running like this, and he won't know that the ball has just thrown over his head and the receiver has it. He was already running. But if he's aware, you actually see him like look around as like the quarterback, like right when like the quarterback throws it, you'll see him like a couple seconds after just look up, and then you'll see him actually try and go get it, because that awareness, he knows, okay, the ball has been thrown, I need to look for the ball.
Yeah.
So it actually plays a big part in creating that more. This is how like actual defense would be.
Yeah. So like in real life, a defensive player, like in your like scenario, he would look at the receiver and like watch his eyes maybe.
Yes.
And if his eyes got big or he looked like he was trying to find the ball, then the player would know like, oh, the ball's probably been thrown.
Yeah. That's usually if like he's like with his back turned, but a lot of times if the player's actually facing the quarterback, the AI will actually react to where they throw it. So like they'll like look, they'll be like, I guess I don't know how it would be, but like read the quarterback, like if like ball is thrown somewhere, go where ball is. I guess ball's a target. They'll just say follow ball.
Okay.
So I guess, but yeah, a lot of design works with actually like seeing like how these players should react, and so yeah, and then another one, sounds, the commentary, like player chants. They go through everything. Like I don't know, it's in the beginning. I don't know if you could hear some of the crowd. Like the crowd sort of like getting a little rowdy. You can hear them cheering. If I would have gone further through the coin flip, depending on which stadium you go to, like let's just say North Carolina, because at the beginning they usually chant Tar Heels at the beginning. Like one side will shout Tar, the other will shout Heels, and you actually hear that in the game. And then you also hear that for like other colleges, depending on like which colleges, if they do that little sort of back and forth chant. You'll hear that in like being coin toss or like some point in the quarter, and then they'll also like before some plays they'll play music for the crowd, so you'll hear music in the background like before, like as you're picking the player at the beginning of a quarter, and then you'll hear the crowd like sort of sing along with it. Like they did one this year. Let's see, I can't remember. I don't know the name of the song, but it was I can't remember. It was I can't remember. I'll have to come with it later. But they do a song, and you can hear people sort of sing along with the song. It's sort of like a student thing. It's mainly like for like students and stuff. You'll sort of hear like that student, like, because a lot of schools have the section of they'll like sort of sing this certain thing to get the crowd hyped up, and you'll hear that in the game. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but maybe I can find an example of it. But yeah, that was mainly it. I don't know if I have an example of the commentary on here. I don't think I do, no. No, I didn't have an example of the commentary. I didn't get that. But, alright, so, and then another one of the biggest things is Dynasty Mode, where the main design-heavy aspects of that is recruiting, coach skills, contracts, and team management. So recruiting, they had to design a way for people to easily understand recruiting and like sort of line it up correctly so that it looks like sort of like realistic, that feel that you're like, okay, I'm actually like recruiting this player. This past year they made a lot of changes. This is the setup. If you can see it, you have the drop down menu right here. It's all positions. If you go down, you can see different. You can sort by different positions, and then also you'll have like stuff like they're ready to visit, or and then they'll have a list of people that you're in battles with other schools, and so you can sort of change that list to say, okay, I want to focus on these players this week. Last year they changed it a lot since last year. Last year you had to go in specifically. You actually like go through and call specific players. You actually get call minutes, and you actually ask them questions, depending on how much time that you allot for that person for that interview. But it was very time heavy. It took like it could take a good half an hour if you have a large list of recruits to actually go through and actually do your recruiting for that week. So I like the new system better. They award a point system. You'll see this guy has 6,000 points. You can change that. I'll get into that when you're going to coach skills. But and you can go more. 500 is the max to make the regular season, but you can change it to like to have a specific number. It goes up by like 5 and 10 and stuff. So you can change which points get awarded, which one. Here you can see this is the position. This guy's with Florida State, so he's like that's his number one pick, that recruit. It's like, okay, I kind of want to go here, so that's my number one interest. And then you can slide through and you get you see specifically where bonus points are. Actually have a video that sort of goes through it better.
So unlike a pro sport where you get just like offer more money, or
yeah, this is basically oh, wait, actually, I already got my chart. I'm about to down.
okay.
But yeah, it's sort of a not more contract. You're actually like trying to convince this player to come to you. This year's version wasn't as like you can't really convince them as much as you could in the past, because with the actual call from last year's game, you could focus on which aspects of that school that they specifically like. Like you could promote, our school has good facilities, and you have a grade for each one, like school traditions, coach prestige, stuff like that. You have different grades for that, and you could promote that. But this year it's more, you just award them points, and you sort of just let the CPU take care of it, which is, I like it. It's not as time heavy. It takes like the right amount of time to take about 10 minutes recruiting for each week in the game. So I think that really helped.
So they had designed a system that maybe felt more realistic, but it wasn't as satisfying.
Yes. I guess the main reason I changed it is it just took forever, and a lot of people just gave up. I know I gave up on it. I was like, I don't want to spend an hour recruiting every week in a game, so I'm just gonna not do it, because I found a little loophole to the recruiting system from last year where if you just win games, the recruits will just come to you. You don't have to do anything. You really don't have to touch the recruiting tab. But this year it's not quite the same, because I've entered my 5th year in my dynasty, and I still have trouble recruiting top tier players. They